Okay, so Sound of Hope. I actually saw this, I think, 2 weeks ago, and um, the movie officially releases this week on Thursday, July 4th. The big Fourth of July weekend. This is the latest film from Angel Studios. Angel Studios is, of course, the newer faith-based studio on the block, kind of succeeding PureFlix and Sony's Affirm Films and all that. Last year they exploded with the Jim Caviezel thriller film Sound of Freedom, and their new film is called Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. Now, when I first saw this advertised in front of another Angel Studios film called Cabrini, it was just called Possum Trot. And then all of a sudden, they got together. I think it was with Ben Shapiro's company. And they said, we're going to call it Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. And they know exactly what they're doing because Sound of Freedom earned near 250 million or more last year when it came out. So they're hoping for the same result. When the movie starts, actually, when the title pops up, you see Possum Trot right in the frame, and then it zooms out to right about here, and it says Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. So um, I want to start this by saying right up top, I am of a basic faith. I do believe in a God. I don't pray very often. I'm not against people that are very religious. I really am not. Um, if you're a very religious person, that is your thing. All I ask is you just respect what I believe, and I'll respect what you believe. Um, that being said, faith-based films can be done really well. There have been some really good examples of faith-based films, like Zachary Levi's film American Underdog. That was really good. And a Pureflix one that they did a couple of years ago called Indivisible. I think that's with one or two people from Grey's Anatomy. I don't know because I don't have 17 years to sit down and watch Grey's Anatomy. Uh, but so I want to get that out of the way right up top. And I would also like to say that if you are a person of faith, I would highly, 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 strongly recommend staying away from Sound of Hope when it releases this week because this, I think when you and I talked, I had mentioned that the worst religious film that I had seen was Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. This
Mm.
launches past it by a mile. This is, I've never seen something so disgusting and despicable like this. Um, the story, to give you kind of the rundown, and I have my phone with me. I moved my computer into the den, the little movie U caddy corner there, and I got my picture of me and my lady up there. So if you're watching, Molly, I love you.
Well,
Um,
speaking of which, not to cut in,
no, go ahead.
but we have a commenter,
We do.
and it's Molly.
Hey, sweetheart.
I was waiting for just the right time, just the right time.
So Possum Trot, according to Wikipedia, it's inspired by a true story. The film follows Donna and Reverend Martin of Possum Trot, Texas, as they ignite a fire in the hearts of their rural church to embrace kids in foster care that no one else would take in. By doing the impossible, adopting 77 children, this East Texas community proved that with determined love, the battle for America's most vulnerable can be won. Of course, it's in the heart of Texas. The Texas is considered like the big beating heart of the Bible Belt. If not, it would be Georgia, one of the two. Um, and that's fine. What they're doing is they're basically for the Fourth of July holiday. I guess they're going to do another one next year. They're going to feature like awareness of like child in peril sort of things. Sound of Freedom focused on child trafficking, and it's a very difficult subject to tackle. I thought they did that rather well. I could have done without Jim Caviezel standing on a soapbox during the end credits, but other than that, I thought it was well done for as well done as a film as they could do. I thought they treated it very respectfully. There are a couple moments where it got a little over the top. Um, this this treats the subject of child abuse and foster care so inappropriately and so disgustingly that there's about a scene halfway through which I'll get into later So minor spoiler alerts if you're one of the 2 people out there who's like, oh, I'm really itching to go see this.
You ruined it for me, Kyle. You ruined this movie. No.
It's basically about these 2 people. The woman is, first of all, this movie takes a while to get to the point. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes. And the main couple, Donna and her reverend husband, Martin, her mother dies at the beginning of the film. And it's a scene that I almost wanted to kind of start giggling, because the woman is having a heart attack, and she makes a show very slowly sitting down and leaning back, and she leans for the phone that's right next to her, but then pats her chest, does it again, picks up the phone, pats her chest. She doesn't call 911 or anything. She calls some random kid that lives in the neighborhood, and then the next scene you see this kid running to the car that has our main character in it. The mother meant a lot, obviously, to this woman. The mother showed a lot of love and kindness, and this woman is so distraught. She's very depressed. She falls into a depression, which is understandable. She comes out of this depression in the most unbelievable way possible. She goes to the woods by this little like cabin or hut that she played in when she was younger, and she scoots down at the bottom of the tree, and she's looking at like 2 or 3 kids that are playing, which, weird. You're a random adult, so why are you doing that? And then she goes, oh, and she stands up and she smiles and she walks right back into the door of her house, and she tells her husband, I'm much better because God spoke to me and told me that we should adopt a child. And even the Reverend goes, I don't think that's the right thing to do. They do it anyway. And I want to bring this scene up because this scene is in the trailer for the movie. It occurs within the first half hour, and I'm going to bring it up because this is the first sign that something is very disastrously wrong. Okay. There's a scene in the trailer, and like I said, it happens very early on in the movie, where there is a child. The child's on the phone with 911 because she's hiding in a bathroom, and in the next room over, there's some biker dude that's confronting her mother. It's a very intense kind of scene to witness. Obviously, they're not making this movie to make light of this kind of situation. But as the scene crescendos to such a point, and we're getting, the music's rising and we're getting closer, the guy pulls out a gun and shoots the mother, and you see the 3 bullet holes into the wall of the bathroom, mere feet away from this kid who's on the phone with 911. And the reason I bring that scene up is because that kid never pops up again in the entire movie. It's never mentioned again. It's never seen from again. Never. It immediately cuts to this social worker who's played by Elizabeth Mitchell. For those who are Disney nuts out there, she is Mrs. Claus in the Tim Allen Santa Claus films and the Disney Plus series. Elizabeth Mitchell is the social worker, and she assigns this completely unrelated foster child that we didn't just watch to this couple. This foster child is a teenager. She's a troubled teen, so we're tapping into that cliche. And the treatment that this film gives between these 2 people, this couple, and this foster child, is so wildly ridiculous that it is more unbelievable than anything in, I would say, a Star Wars movie or a Lord of the Rings film. Oh, and wow. These are real human beings we're talking about. I believe I could sit and watch the 4-hour plus version of Return of the King and be enthralled and be like, oh my God, these are like real characters. These are real fleshed out people. Meanwhile, I'm watching a movie that has supposedly real people, and they're acting like cartoon characters. By the way, this couple has 2 children of their own. And once this foster child enters the picture, those children are forgotten about very quickly. They turn their focus onto the foster child, which I understand. with foster children and with foster parents, you're going to want to turn your attention to them. You want to focus on them and make sure that they are a priority to you.
Mhm.
This movie, I forgot the birth kids were in there until they pop up again, like very sporadically, when the filmmakers are like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you guys want to say a line?" They make sure that everybody knows you're still here. There is a scene halfway through, so minor spoiler alert. There is a scene about halfway through where this movie, because it was teetering for me. I was at a half star with this. I grade on a scale of 0 to 4 stars. I was like, maybe its heart is in the right place. I hope there's a scene that can pull it out at least a little bit, give it some sort of credit. This scene, they're cleaning her room, they're making her bed, and they lift up the one pillow that she has, and there's a knife underneath the pillow. And they ask her about it because she just very conveniently, as soon as they find the knife, she walks right into the room, and they go, "What is this for? What are you doing?" And she very succinctly explains, "That's to protect myself in case anyone comes in and tries to attack me." And they get they put the knife down, and the foster mother, tries to grab her hands and comfort her, and with the teenage foster child pulls her hands away, and she goes, "I want to be left alone right now," or something along those lines. What follows is the foster mother then forcefully grabs a hold of the child, tries to comfort her and talk to her. The child is fighting against this. The mother then turns the child around, ferociously spanks her about 6 or 7 times, throws her up against a friggin' wall, and starts screaming in her face. And it was at that moment, the movie, in my head, I said, this is a 0-star film. I have an hour and 5 minutes left of this. There is no way this movie can redeem itself for what it has just done. And it never did. It got worse and worse and worse and worse. With every ticking second and with every scene that kept going on and on, it was so disastrous and it was so over the top. Had I not seen The Private Eye earlier this year, which I was one of 10 people to go find that in a theater, that's a movie with Matt Rife as the lead character.
Oh,
If I hadn't seen that, this would be the worst movie of the year. But The Private Eye irritated me for so many other reasons. Angel Studios, for those who don't know, at the end of every single one of their movies, this happened with Sound of Freedom, this happened with Cabrini, this happened with The Shift. It's going to happen until they get sick and tired of it. And I'm sick and tired of it. But based on the people at my screening, they're the older people and they fell for it. So they know what market they're tapped into. At the end of every Angel Studios film, there's about, I don't know, an hour of end credits. They put a QR code on the screen. A site. That was the other movie I was going to mention. They did that this year. That one wasn't great, but it was fine. They put a QR code on the screen, and they always they're like, I know it's like not traditionally kosher to pull your phone out in a movie theater, but you can do it just this one time. We're giving you permission. Scan this QR code to pay it forward. And the whole method is you scan this stupid QR code. The only thing that you're paying for is another ticket for this movie. They even make that explicitly clear. It's not a donation. I could understand the use of a QR code if you're making it go towards kids that are in foster care, because that is an epidemic. We do need children out of foster care, but it's like the saying goes, every child needs a parent, but every parent doesn't need a child. Does that make sense? Because there are bad people out there, and we don't want the bad people getting their hands on the children. The real pastor and his wife come up at the end of the movie. They have the QR code. They're like, pay it forward to buy a ticket for someone who can watch this movie. And for doing that, you'll get a deleted scene. If you give us money, you'll get a deleted scene that you won't be able to see anywhere else. They're not, if the movie gets a home release, it's not going to get, you have to give them money to access something. How horrible is that? That is, and people were, they were clapping and everything. Now, I don't know if this is going to be in the general release of the film. When I saw it, it was that, and then this is the first Angel Studios film that does it twice, because right after the pastor and his wife away, they fade off screen. The credits start rolling, and another message from Elizabeth Mitchell pops up. And the reason I say I don't know if it's going to be in general release, because she was talking and she's like, "You got to see this before everyone else. Make sure you get the word out before July 4th." Well, thank you. I am going to get the word out. This is horrible. This is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my entire life. Molly was supposed to go with me to see this. I called her right after and I said, "Thank God you didn't, because you would have been sick." This is horrible. And she's already had a bad enough year with movies this year, with Madam Web, with Daddy-O, with Sasquatch Sunset. I feel so bad for her. Thankfully, the next movie that we're going to talk about here, her and I did see together. It was a much better movie. But Sound of Hope, flat zero. Don't give this any of your money. Don't give this any of your time. If it shows up, if you're at a flea market and the bootleg guy is giving away copies of this for nothing, take it and just throw it in the trash. Horrible movie. Absolutely do not see it.